questions or points about this last section? What have you got? We're not going to run round robin, just if you've got any general points there. In the untrained combative, right, so this goes back to military-based research now. In the untrained combative, there's often a lag time between, I guess there are two opposing fears. There's the fears of physical violence to self, and then there's the secondary fear of the repercussions of you putting physical violence out. Whereas in a trained combative, they don't have the secondary fear. They just go, okay, well, I'm under threat, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to take out the eyeball of the person in front of me. Right? So there's very often opposing fears. Yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Probably. What else? Here's a secondary point, just before we quit on this bit. Because threat is actually about perception, and because we have access to our perceptions of things all the time, every replay of a memory of the threat is the equivalent of the threat manifesting itself again, right? So that means if you, regardless of what the thing is, if I'm intimidated, if I'm threatened by a certain thing, and every time I run through the process of thinking it through, I said every time I run through the process of thinking it through, I essentially expose myself to the threat over again. Right? It's what a lot of coaches don't seem to understand. You only access threat if there's something you can do about it. Then and there. Because otherwise, just to keep bringing up threat, this is why a lot of therapy-based, like psychotherapy, tends not to work in the long term. Because there's a lot of discussion about, tell me what happened and why it upset you and all this kind of stuff. And you keep revisiting it. So your brain doesn't know the difference between the fact that that was 10 years ago when it happened. It just says, oh my God, this is awful, I remember this. And it gives you all of the threat response again. Right? Anyone who's been through kind of psychotherapy or any kind of trauma counselling, most people will be able to relate to that. There's this subtle feeling of catharsis to begin with, like, oh, it's great that I managed to speak to someone, but you realise actually you just surfaced it all and your brain is replaying it, and you keep having the same experiences over and over again. It's not to, so here's the difference between coaching, because what I'm teaching you here isn't psychotherapy, right? Psychotherapy is about going back into the past and kind of trying to figure out things from back here. Coaching is actually present-based. And it doesn't mean that you won't necessarily investigate something, you just want to know the meaning of something, but you work from here forward. Psychotherapy generally tends to work from the past. Okay? It's about, okay, you are feeling threatened by something, let's deal with this threat here and now. Right? Anything else? It's good. Right, so here's the thing, because you said, what do you tell them? Well, if you tell them they're not based in reality, right? If you tell me something, you're very likely to increase my threat. As soon as you tell me, because telling me is a judgment, and telling me is usually making me wrong. Like, you just told me something about myself that I didn't know, but if you ask me, you say, for example, in any of you guys read any of Byron Katie's stuff? Yeah? So, the book Loving What Is a particularly good book. Kind of, is that true? Is a really powerful question, right? It's not saying that I don't believe you, but it's saying, is that true? Can we talk about it? Can you tell me how that's true for you in your life? That's very different. But if you, as soon as you put yourself into the position of saying that's not true, okay, or you're seeing things in a way that aren't working for you, you've essentially set yourself up as an opponent, right? Can you pop up here for a second? Right. So I think I did this when I was here with Vigor earlier in the year, right? Really good coaching is like Aikido. Right. Really good coaching is like Aikido, whereas poor coaching has a tendency to look much more like combat. So if you boxed, put your hands up. Right. So just use this hand and like punch me in the mouth. Right. So most coaching is a bit like this, right? Kind of like we're deflecting and we're pushing and we're trying to find our space to actually give our strike back. And make no mistake about it, kind of poorly qualified or poorly knowledgeable coaches, they strike, right? They kind of hit their clients with these little jabs and these little barbs to try and get them to take the action that they want them to take. This is what I want you to do, right? And you better damn well do it, right? So it's very, very much like this, right? Kind of we're blocking, we're looking for our opportunity to strike back. Now, if you take that same hand and punch me in the jaw, right? Now, Aikido, let's do this a little bit faster, right? Actually, punch me, right? Aikido is all about, come back here again. It's about meeting the opponent's strike, not trying to deflect it, but by turning myself within the client's space. So Aikido is a great metaphor because instead of Well, I can only be in combat with you if I stand toe to toe, look you in the eyes and come into combat, right? But with Aikido, I can actually come here. Now what have I done? I've positioned myself alongside of the client. I'm looking at the world from their perspective. I see what they see, right? But I'm still managing to maintain my own view of things as well, right? This is why Aikido is really powerful. When I position myself like this, right, I'm essentially only seeing what is going on through my own eyes. And I'm seeing the client as a combative against me, right? There's a play that he's trying to run. I want to stop him running that play, and I'm going to enforce my own scenario on it. When I come into Aikido, right, okay, I'm now viewing the world through my client's eyes. I've still got my own perspective on it, but I can kind of see what they're getting at. I see why they feel the way they feel. Right? Now, if he wants to come back and attack me, yeah, he can do that. He has to maneuver himself again to come into combat again, and I'll just Aikido him back out of the way, right? And we can kind of do this all day, and it starts to look like a dance, right? Because Aikido looks like dancing, right? That's what it starts. Thank you. That's when it starts to become. Right? Coaching is dancing. Right? It's avoiding getting into combat with your clients. It's avoiding having them strike you, or avoiding you having to strike them in order to get your point across. And instead, you meet them where they are, deflect, come back here. Aikido, when it's done really well, looks like, right? And if you really wanted to, you could flip people over and kind of do all kinds of things. Does anyone do Aikido here? No? Right. It's an amazing martial art, right? But it's not really a martial art because martial means war, right? Aikido actually translates as the way of peace, which is why it's a brilliant metaphor for coaching. The way of peace. Don't look for the combat, right? Meet them where they are, turn, see the world through their eyes. Every time they try and turn around and bring it back to wanting to go into combat with you and making you wrong and all that kind of stuff, just turn back around, dance with them. Does that make sense? Yeah? It's a much, much nicer way to coach, but you get so much more done. Because after a while, it gets really tiring keeping trying to punch you in the mouth when all you want to dance. All you want to do is dance, right? So, well, I'll see you tomorrow.